focus over to some breaking inputs coming in from France. We're now learning that amid protests in France over the killing of a teenager, French President Emmanuel Macron has urged parents to keep their teenagers at home to limit rioting in various French cities. He also blamed social media for fueling violence and said it had played a significant role in the events of the past few days. The French government has requested the shutdown of bus and tram services over fears of a fourth night of riots. Let's quickly go across to Sanjay Suri, who's joining me live on the phone line. Sanjay, it's understandable that there are fears of children participating in these riots. What are reports indicating?
Well, there is a limit to how far parents can control teenagers in this kind of situation. Quite clearly, over 3 days of rioting, parents have been unable to control their children, stop them from going out. It's hardly likely that the parents would have encouraged their children to say, well, dinner done, go out and burn some cars. It's really, there is a limit to what parents can do. The other two measures are also certain to be limited. One of them is to stop bus and tram services from 9 p.m. local time tonight. The other is restraints being urged upon social media. Now, certainly all of these three measures are not guaranteed to succeed, but no doubt the government will look to do all that it can. And if these measures can succeed even fractionally in reducing the violence, then these measures and these efforts would have been worth it.
Sanjay, nearly 900 people have been arrested so far. Which are the French cities which are bearing the brunt of this violence?
Well, this is happening all over France, and it started in Nanterre district in Paris, of course, soon spread to other districts in Paris. Then we've seen down south in Marseille. We've been seeing this in cities really up and down the country. There's not a major city that has been spared this kind of violence. So it's just something that has erupted all over France. And this is following the pattern of the 2005 riots, when again we saw rioting spread right across the country. And at that time, it continued for all of 3 weeks.
Right. Right. And when we talk about this violence escalating further, Sanjay, at the heart of these violent protests also lies an issue that is plaguing France and Europe overall, which is the rise of police brutality, not to forget racial discrimination, for which France has even been called out at the United Nations.
Well, the French have issued a very robust denial of the United Nations claim. They say the record is very much better than that of many other countries, which indeed is the case. We cannot really conclude that the system in France is very much more racist than it is in other countries, that their police are somehow more racist than other police forces. The record has been worrying to the extent that we've seen eruptions like this before. The last was back in 2005, which is going back some time. But clearly, there is work to be done, and modifications in the law that enable police shooting when they stop a vehicle and when they are concerned that people are not responding and there's a danger to life is something that the French will certainly need to review. And there is a concern also that there are elements within the police force, if not the full force, that may be racist, that may be, too fast to pull the trigger. We've seen that in this case. We saw that in 13 cases last year, which is a very high number of people being killed after being stopped for minor traffic offenses or some concerns that led the police to stop them. So there are excesses here. In this case, it's a very tragic and brutal excess. But clearly, France is...
Right. And Sanjay, before I let you go, in fact, there are some fresh reports coming of how Tour de France of 2023 might just be overshadowed because of these safety concerns. Could you take us through what reports are indicating?
And it's a bicycle ride and race across much of France. It's due to kick off tomorrow. And there are some concerns that this may have to be rerouted at some points and additional protection provided to those participating. And once that is put in place, this will mean diversions. It will mean a change in route. But the organizers of the event have said that They are prepared for that. The participants are prepared
All
for
right.
that, and that they will find a way to get around this.
All right. Many thanks to you, Sanjay, for bringing in a bird's eye view of what is happening in France. Extremely terrible.